together. That's reality, because you actually become one in a physical sense. You know, it's like you buy a product that you have to put the product together, and you have a hole and you have a shaft that's sticking to the product, and there it is. You set it together. Now you can utilize it. That's it. You know, when done under the right fashion, you know, God Almighty has set aside how that should be done, but this is a different time, you know, how the world is running now. So the same thing now. So the water aspect, the nun, is the same Mary again. The nun, let's follow that good. The nun represents the water. And you know, Mary represents the water too, the Black Madonna, because Mary literally means the water. The Mariam from the Old Testament, the Mariam of the or Miriam from the Old Testament, the Mariam from the Quran is the very same Mary from the New Testament. Is an esoteric title. It means the waters. She's the same Naunet. She's the same Nun, seen in another fashion. This is why the Christ figures, Ra comes out of the Nun, Ra comes out of the Nun. And Christ comes out of Mary, and both of them mean waters. It's a science. All the gods come out of the water, out of Sa. You know, all of them come out of that watery world. So this is why it's very important. If you notice what we read a moment ago, it says here, water, nothingness, invisibility. That is why the number 0 is so important. Sesame Street teach you to count from 1 to 10. But in our ancient African tradition, teach your children to count from 0. Let them respect the north. That's what we just call it, north. North, you know, like north, but we call it north. 0, you know, the nothingness. It has no value, yeah, but you just add a next 0 to anything and you see how much value it has. So the first number is the nothing, you know, which is everything. The woman, the 0, the nun. The nun sounds like the word none. It's like none, like there's none left, there's none, because it's the nun, the beginning. So they craft the words, eh? So the nun, you understand, in that science represents the none, which is the nothingness. You understand? And 0, you notice the word 0 in Wazirio, which Wazirio is the name of the Ethiopian woman, noble woman. So Empress Menen is Wazirio Menen. So you have 0, which is the woman again, the 0, the nun, the nothingness, of which all life came out of. That's really what it's saying there, of which all life came out. The nun, the 0, the Wazirio, the nun, the nothingness, which is the same Mary, the Miriam, the Marine. That's why Marine means water. Marian, Menen, which is Marina. This should be Marina, and Menen, of course. All of that is the same science coming to one. So you could see for yourself how all of that is connected, you know, as it relates to the woman and the fullness. That is why they in this fellas here church, and not just them, the science of the woman that has given her life to the Messiah, you know, the woman that has said to become the bride of Christ. Really, that's what a nun is, a woman that has become the bride of Christ. So she has married the Christ. She is not married to a man specifically. She's married to the Messiah. So she doesn't have a man. She's going to be a virgin for the rest of her life, at least a new virgin if she's not a virgin from before. And that's a nun. And she's walking in the footsteps of the most, you know, exalted mother, the mother of Christ, the Virgin Mary. So Mary, Mariam, Maria is the nun, just as you could see here, that you have the nun here and the Pope himself even kneeling before the nun. Now, before we even go forward even more with that, and since we are speaking of the Pope, let me just check something here. Since we're speaking of the Pope here, yes, I give thanks. Let me just make sure everything is all right here. It says here, the breaking process of the Black woman. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with Mr. Willie Lynch, all right? And of course, his letters speaking of how to divide the Negroes. And he spoke to those in the southern plantations of the United States of America, informing them that, listen, he has plantations in Jamaica, in Antigua, and one or two other places down there in the West Indies. And I mean, I don't have to be killing these Negroes like how you hanging these Negroes up here, you know. I found a foolproof method that should last about 300 years, maybe more. The 300 years pass, and trust me, it's going strong. The 300 years pass, and it's going strong. Divide the tall from the short, the dark from the light ones. Divide the male from the female, you know, the he from the she, the old from the young, and the hair texture and the voice and all sorts of things. Just find some reason to divide them from one another, and they will become envious, backbiting. They will not look out for each other, and a whole heap of things Mr. Willie Lynch highlighted shall take place. But this is an aspect of this speech that many have left out. We always hear the other one, but we hardly hear this aspect of it, and I found it necessary to touch upon this even tonight. He says here, take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract that last bit of bee out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so you spoil good economics. When in complete submission, she will train her offsprings in the early years to submit to labor. When they become of age, understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the female nigger. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male, and she would have a limited protective tendency towards her independent male offspring, and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. Nature had provided for this type of balance. So he's saying here that what she would naturally do, nature had said it so. We have reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bull-whipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence, by her being left alone, by her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed. The ordeal caused her to move from her psychologically dependent state to a frozen, independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Better go and look hard work to do. Because she has become psychologically dependent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. Let me repeat that. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offsprings to become psychologically independent. Also, I'm adding that. What have you got? You've got a nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. This is the perfect situation of sound sleep and economics, money he talking about. Before the break-in process, we had to be alert, on guard, all times, at all times. Now we can sleep soundly. Imagine that. For out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He cannot, as a young youth, and the girl too, cannot get past his mother early slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. By the time a nigger boy reaches the age of 60, and the female slaves. We show what we meant by example. Take care of these slaves. Something or the other. You close it that I cannot see that. Now, you see, very key. Because what we have here, Honorable Prince, what we have here, for example, when you look at this, the male image destroyed, eh? That's a very serious thing. The male image destroyed. Now, it's a very serious thing when a man himself would take up a woman. Eh? This is very, very serious. The psychology is deep. You see what Mr. Lynch is saying there? You bring the male out in front of the woman. You bring the male out in front of the congregation, and you bullwhip him, and you tie him to horses, and you do him all sorts of things, even nearly to the point of death in the sight of the woman. You do more than that. You have situations where you rape the woman in the sight of the man, making sure that she aware that he watching, even if he's not watching. What I'm saying, you know, brethren, we ain't got no army, eh? I don't know if you know Kung Fu, but we ain't got no army nowhere. You check it. Just reality I giving you. Reality. This is just reality. You have a wife, you have a woman, whatever the case is, She know your situation. She know you ain't got no army neither. Maybe have a little thing here, some little firecracker or something. But I mean, once a man come with a bigger firecracker, your firecracker might get quiet. But I'm telling you, it's just natural. Whether they want it like that or not, it's natural. When you violate a man, woman, Rasta, especially in front of, you know what I mean, you the man, she's been violated in your presence and you can't do nothing about it. Whoever violated, it could be a mob. It could be a mob. And you by yourself can't really do nothing against the mob. You fight hard. And they violate her in front of you. Trust me. I mean, unless understanding is at its highest level, you have lost that respect. But what could I have done? Hey, listen. Hey, it may not seem fair. Maybe she herself said, man, I wish I could help you. But I've lost respect. You could not defend me. And if you notice the picture I draw, you know, not like one man come in the house and the man overcome you and whatever. A mob on you. Police. You don't know enough bad man police all over the world. Kick down your door. 15 police. The biggest I got, mass police too. And just deal with your woman. Leave her crying and leave you there to tell her sorry. That's reality, eh? So that never go down good. And Mr. Lynch have a good understanding of that. And them kind of science were used, you know, or, you know, put into place. As he said, this will last for generations to come. Not generations, I think it's everlasting. It will have no end. And that's the sort of mentality that's going out there. So I want to read something here for you now. After giving that understanding of basically, I would say, what has become of the woman to a high degree in this modern day time. Because this program that has been set in motion is continuing up to today. It's at its heights. And I'm telling you, naturally, in a man, a woman naturally searching for God. And you'll be surprised because some of us not even aware. A man naturally searching for God too, in the form of a goddess. Yeah, the so-called God is male and female. We just covered all of that a while ago. So the woman get caught up in Jesus Christ. Imagine a woman love Jesus Christ more than she love her husband. That'll be dread, eh? That's some dread stuff. Imagine you love Jesus Christ. And I mean, a regular woman will tell you, so what's wrong with that? What do you mean? So, you expect me to love him more than Jesus Christ? Wow. Yeah. Jesus Christ. So in reality, you know, the woman's husband is supposed to be her God. I mean, we understand the science of the God and, you know what I mean, the Most High. We understand that. Let's not get stuck there like we're in the mud now. Let's move, you know, smoothly. We understand the science. But God dwells in all of us. So let's, and the essence of the Most High dwells in all of us. The Amon Ra is in all of us. So she is naturally seeking for that Christ figure in flesh. It's just a natural thing. So when that is tarnished and the man is beaten down, and even she herself now, as if like, man, he can't help me, he can't protect me. And they continue to, revisit the Willie Lynch planet. They don't just leave it there, and they come back again in this modern time and bring in some incentives, and they go into the school system and go into the university system and make sure they graduate this amount of male and graduate this amount of female, and get into the job system and get into the fabric system and the dress them this way system, and give them this type of clothes to wear system. And then now this thing about who wears the pants, the trousers in the house, it gone different now. Everybody have on trousers. And all of that is a part of the science. So the woman has been broken for real. Totally forget who she really is. It's just a lot of skin out and this and wink and whine and up and down. That's what it is. I mean, maybe not you that listening here at the moment, but trust me. And I mean, many of us, we've been there. So when we observe the book of Proverbs, I want to read this for you. Now, Proverbs itself, the 8th chapter, it says here, my fruit is better than gold. Now, who is speaking here? This is wisdom speaking. Wisdom is considered as a woman in this book. It begins by speaking of wisdom, and, she stands in the city and she calls, and, wisdom is a woman. Okay. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. I lead in the way of righteousness, in the midst of the paths of judgment, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will fill their treasures. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, we will say ever living, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there was no fountains, abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had made the earth, while as yet he had not made the earth. He. See, polarity we deal with, he. Let me make sure, make sure my people see this, make sure this thing, I'm not sharing this with you, man. All right, it's all right, but I am reading it properly. I was just in my vibes, but I'm reading it properly, don't worry. Here it is. I'm sorry about that, yeah. That's the book of Proverbs. I wasn't sharing it for the moment there. I was just reading and I was saying, listen, no, I didn't share it. Yeah. But that's it here, Proverbs 8. So I'm somewhere around here. Here it is. I'm somewhere around here. This is wisdom speaking. Wisdom is seen as a she. Everyone knows that. I'm sure of that. Wisdom is a she. Even understanding is a she. Female. So we're dealing with science. The Bible is giving you this in a scientific level. Breaking it down into polarities. That's what it is. And she is speaking of a he. And he is the one that made the heavens and the earth. He had a lot of work to do. Let's read it here. So we're here. Let's continue from verse 26. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. I thought he said nobody was with him. People like to throw that on you. Well, the Lord said, when I created the heavens, there was nobody there. Yeah, he sure. But how she say? She said, this is what she says. And I go in with her. She says, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. Don't be telling no lie on me. I was there. I see everything. when he set a compass upon the face of the deep. That's the great architect, as he's referred to in Freemasonry, compass and square. I was there. Yeah. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree that the water should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the fountains of the earth, then I was by him. This is wisdom. That's the next man. There's somebody speaking in Proverbs saying that they were with God. And God is seen as a he, and they are seen as a she. You understand? And not that she was just there looking on and I got a glimpse. I was by him as one brought up with him. God, she talking about. As one brought up with him, Haldeman, in Jerusalem in the college. As one brought up with him. And I was daily his delight. So how he come to say in Isaiah, nobody was with him. We forget? No, feel no. I know some of you very religious. Says, oh no, be careful, don't talk about the Lord. You don't understand. I know. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Rejoice in the habitable part of his earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. Now therefore hearken unto me, O children, and blessed. And she goes on. So I think we have clear signs here. We cannot run from this. You know, I know we tend to, again, we'll jump on the Bible and it says this and says that. And as I said earlier, I myself agree there's certain things that I would read and I wonder what kind of, that's a strange law. You know what I mean? That's why the Mosiah come for real. Remember they were running to stone the woman down that was playing a harlot. A heap of man running her down to stone her down. I don't hear nobody trying to stone the man. Bible different, eh? Woman sleep with a man. A married woman sleep with a man, eh? She is stoned to death. That's why they were running her down. A married man sleep with a little girl underage and everything. He just have to give the father a few shekels and some sheep, and he can walk with her. Some mystic sort of laws. I couldn't defend nothing like them things there. You know. So if one says that many ones, even many people in the audience, the culture of what is it called, polygamy or what's the other term? But anyway, in this case, when a man would have multiple wives, let's call it multiple wives. And I understand the African science of it. And I mean, from you follow me, you know, I have a certain level of respect for African tradition. You know, that is not something I practice for sure. But at the same time, my question is, I'm not arguing whether a person believes in that or not. My question is, does that show a specific, a distinct difference from the as it relates to the woman and the man? That's a very important question, because we may talk of the woman and the man being equal. Okay, all right. So if the woman was to have multiple husbands, no, this is, I'm just replaying this, but this is something I've been through several times. You know, so the woman and the man are unequal. No, the woman equal, man. Okay, right. So if the woman have multiple husbands, no, that's not nice. That's unclean. That's unclean. Okay. But a man can have multiple wives. Yeah. Satan is usually from a religious standpoint. As I said, in ancient African traditions, they even have people in Africa. We've done a whole episode on that, where you have the woman having multiple husbands. All right. That's a lot of multiple things. But all I'm saying with that is that if that is something correct, especially a male with multiple wives, then to me, it's not a point you should run from. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but to me, that means there is a clear difference between a man and a woman, to the point where, to what level are they considered equal? Because I mean, everyone is not the same, and equality has a lot to do with different layers again, because they say the woman is the weaker vessel. It's obvious that a man is naturally stronger, uh, bigger, taller, deeper voice. You know, it's just natural. It's made that way. You know, it's not all woman that is soft, but really, you know, you could see the woman is built to be somewhat softer than the man. It's just natural. But the woman bear a lot of pain, you know, just the bringing forth of life. Anytime I hear the weaker vessel, especially the vessel concept, I always think of that. Yeah. So the balance is key, and I will always encourage ones to remember that everyone has their purpose. Yeah, everyone. That's why they built different. They equally, but they're still different. You know, they have different positions. You know, they, as we said, one positive, one negative. You know, they one the spirit, one the physical, and they have certain circumstances where one will rise above the other. All of that is what one's need to comprehend. You know, so since we're speaking of wisdom now, this is the goddess Shishat, and the goddess Shishat is the goddess of wisdom. And hear this now, Shishat is the wife of Tahuti, the great writer of the Emerald Tablets, the great thought, you know, not no Hermes, no mess here. Hear this in the man talking about Hermes. You see, from the creation is wisdom the this in Hermes my foot. No Hermes here. This is Tahuti, Jahuti, the great God thought. Even the thought is Greek or something, I will work with it with a little understanding, because he's the God of wisdom, the thought, your thought. And now his wife, if you notice, she has the cannabis above her head. Yeah, man, he has the cannabis above her head, which has to do with wisdom again. And she is the keeper of his library. She keeps his library, his records. So the records of Tahuti is kept by his, if you want to say librarian, his wife, his consort, with the ganja above her head.